We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. Here he is, the whiz of a whiz, if ever a whiz there was. If ever a whiz there was, the Wizard of Oz is one because.
Because of the wonderful things he does.
I'm melting.
I don't know why I sang that like a munchkin, because they're definitely not the ones like
That sing
on
it?
the golden brick road.
Yellow brick
Yellow
road?
brick road.
Well,
The
you started
golden
it.
brick
I was going to call it the
road.
golden road, and I'm like,
That's
that's
weird.
not right.
Well, you started like
The
normal
Golden
voice,
Trail.
and then all of a sudden you went to a munchkin. And I was like, oh, we're munchkins now.
We represent
What?
the Lollipop Guild.
Sure.
Got any more?
That's it.
Guys, welcome to Real Awkward, the best damn podcast. You heard.
Today,
Today,
I was waiting for Amanda, sorry.
he was pointing at you.
Finger guns. My name's Andy.
I'm Amanda.
I'm Ashley.
There you go. I like it.
If this is the first time you guys have ever heard our podcast, we have a podcast that talks about wonderful nostalgia and pod culture magic. And we are three blockbuster friends that grew up. I married one of them. The other one just,
We're the three best blockbuster friends that anyone could have.
the other one I didn't marry, but I should have.
Sure didn't. No.
So-
Are you kidding me? We would hate each other.
I know, we're too similar.
Yes.
Yep. Amanda, Ashley, and I are here to entertain your ears today with something special that Amanda has spent, I would say, a long time on this episode, right? You've done some research.
Yeah, I mean, there are a few things that I've wanted to talk about on the show for a long time, and I know that this is not a true crime podcast, even though I'd love it to be. So I try to like speckle in as much like kind of weird, morbid stuff as possible. If you have listened to the show, you know that I like to do some weird stuff occasionally.
She talks about dead things.
Dead things.
Dead things. So, on today's episode, we're going to talk about The Wizard of Oz and basically how horrible it was to work on it.
That sounds so wonderful since it's such a
Yeah.
cherished movie by millions of people for being such a sweet and delicate film.
Yeah. So basically, you've both seen The Wizard of Oz, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Many
Well,
a time.
I just want to make sure. So, for anyone who, for some reason, hasn't seen The Wizard of Oz, it was released October 25th, 1939. It was written after a book called The Wizard of Oz, and apparently, I was trying to remember if it was called The Wonderful Wizard of Oz or just The Wizard of Oz. But I guess for a long time, the movie was kind of in development hell, where like it was kind of one of those things where they weren't sure they could make the movie's visuals work.
I imagine because if you look at that film and what they were able to accomplish, 1939, it'd be
Yes.
like, I don't know how to do it, boss. There's no way I
Well,
can make this happen.
And they relied a lot on like the matte painting, like matte background paintings.
That's true.
And for some reason it works pretty well in this movie.
I feel like when they remastered it, it almost made it worse.
I think that the remastering makes a lot of movies worse because like there's certain things that just get smoothed out too much.
They just look better on VHS.
Well, like you remember the Disney Cinderella animated movie when they re-released it? It was too smooth.
Yeah, because the
Yeah.
animation they probably added like extra frames via AI or whatever, and it looked terrible.
Yeah, it just doesn't really translate.
Yeah. I think when you're used to watching an older movie and like how it looks visually,
Yeah.
and then it like changes, you're like, it doesn't look old anymore.
Yeah.
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 Is this one of those new old movies?
There's a remake. So basically, The Wizard of Oz, while being very popular for just having a good story, it was one of like the earlier huge full length films that had color,
Right.
and it was, it featured. It was a very new technology called Technicolor, and it was basically supposed to be brighter colors, more true color.
Sure.
And they were really pushing the limits of what that could do, especially The Wizard of Oz.
That movie always throws me off because it starts out black and white.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, wait,
I want to turn it off.
I thought this was in color. I'm so confused.
Yes.
And then I'm like, oh yeah.
I actually love that. So the movie starts in black and white, and you're with Dorothy in Kansas, and her life is dreary and boring.
Life is boring as fuck.
And then she goes to the magical world of Oz where everything is bright and colorful and there's all these people to meet. And the one thing I always liked about that movie as a kid was that these, you meet her family early on when she's in Kansas and all the same actors play a character in Oz.
I remember that.
And I remember when I was little, I didn't catch that. And then as I got older, I was like, oh, that's this lady.
Yeah.
That's this lady.
Well, then when you realize that like she was only dreaming, like it makes sense that like the people she's seen are
ruins the
people her
movie.
brain already knows.
Yes.
She should have frickin' done it.
So we're going to talk a lot about, obviously, Judy Garland. And then a lot of it is pretty much just how difficult it was working on the film. The other main characters in the movie were, you had Dorothy, and then you had the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion. Then you had the Wicked Witch of the West. I don't really have that much about Glinda, the Good Witch. All I do know about Glinda the Good Witch is that the dress that she wore, that pink dress, was actually like owned by the prop studio, and it's in multiple movies.
Oh, you mean like that have been done?
Yes, that big pink dress.
Interesting. Okay.
So
It's like in Gone with the Wind or something.
it's not Gone with the Wind, but basically, like they added, she had a bunch of silver stars all over her dress, and they added all that stuff. But the big pink dress
Is a big it's gone. It's seen its days.
Yeah, I looked at the list of movies it had been in, and it had been like 3 or 4 other movies.
Wow.
But I didn't recognize the names of
Wait,
any
the
of
pink
them.
dress is credited like pink dress, and then it says what acting roles it's done.
Yeah, essentially.
Exactly.
It has its own. Yeah, it has its own IMDb page. So, I think that one of the things that I find most interesting is the ruby slippers are almost their own character.
Sure.
So Dorothy lands in Oz and she acquires these ruby slippers and she's told that they'll help her get home. And so the ruby slippers weren't red originally in the book. So
What color is Ruby?
red?
But they weren't ruby slippers.
That's
They
what
were
I'm
not
saying.
red.
They weren't called ruby slippers in the book.
They weren't red. So they were silver slippers that were changed to red because they would look better in Technicolor.
That makes sense.
Absolutely.
100%.
And-
And it's a super like cultural like icon moment from the film.
Yes, and the way that they were able to capture the red sequins like glittering, it still looks good.
Yeah.
And so there were only a couple pairs of those shoes ever made. One is in the Smithsonian. One was stolen and never found again. And I
Wow.
think one is in like a private collection that was sold for like millions of dollars.
That's crazy.
But they are on display at the Smithsonian.
I wonder if you click them together if you get to go places.
Only 3 times. You got to find out. You got to have the right size feet though. So
Yeah, sorry, dude.
I am sorry,
I don't
bro.
think them ruby slippers be fitting you.
That's not
Probably
gonna, not gonna happen for you, Cinderella.
So yeah, so I have a couple. I have like I have a couple more like fun little facts about Wizard of Oz, and then we'll get into like some heavier shit. Okay.
All right.
So one thing I actually found in all my research. So let me just preface this. There's a ton of websites you can find that talk about the horrors of working on the Wizard of Oz. There's a Morbid episode where they talk about it. If you want to dig even deeper than I went into like the directors and stuff, you can. But I just kind of wanted to talk a lot about like how shitty working on this movie was.
Sure.
So the Horse of a Different Color, they meet in the Emerald City.
Yep.
And during the song, there's this horse, and like he changes color like every couple seconds in the song. So the way they did that, there was actually 4 horses that were all white, and each horse was coated in a different color, in a different flavor of Jell-O powder
Whoa.
mixed with water to create the different colors. And so apparently each horse had to have its own like handler who had to like stop the horses from licking itself.
Because they were
So
having that tasty
Yeah.
gelatin.
So it was literally a horse of a different color.
Yeah, there were 4 horses of a different color.
That's a horse of a different color.
And then I guess in a few background scenes, you can see horses like licking themselves.
Oh, that's funny.
And so The Wizard of Oz was nominated for 6 Academy Awards.
Arguably.
And they only won 2 because it lost out to Gone with the Wind.
Oh,
Stupid
bitches.
dress.
Which I thought it was funny because you brought up Gone with the Wind.
Well, yeah, I mean, those Gone with the Wind, I think, is like a 3-hour film too. But it's like
I will never watch
it's
it.
uber drama.
I've watched
So,
it. It's a period drama.
Yeah.
very much like if you love costumes and set pieces, that movie's beautiful.
Sure.
But as a whole, it's not
yeah, I don't know. I just think that the whimsical and the cool fantasy stuff, maybe that wasn't taken on as much as the drama stuff back then.
Yeah.
But Wizard of Oz, that holds up today, where Gone with the Wind to me is like, a lot of people would be like, I'm okay.
There's so much more interesting things in Wizard of Oz.
Well, and there's definitely a bunch of racist shit in Gone with the Wind. Though,
Sure.
like-
But welcome to that time.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, right.
okay, so you want to talk about some messed up stuff?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Judy Garland.
Oh.
Okay, so Judy Garland, for those who don't know, she was like a famous child actor, pretty much, akin to like slightly older Shirley Temple, right?
Sure.
So from the get-go, she was a huge star. And so basically what would happen is, back in the day, these movie studios, you did not have like an agent who like made you deals with different companies and
Sure,
you bopped around.
right.
You would be on contract with this movie studio for X amount of years or for however many movies.
Oh, so you didn't get to choose.
You didn't get to choose your project.
And I
You did not
technically, I
get to
guess you're
choose your
not
project.
auditioning. You're just like taken and forced to do whatever.
So I think you would still have to audition a little bit, but it would mostly just be like, you're scheduled to start this picture here.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so Judy Garland was already decently well known at the time this movie came out. So, sorry, I'm
crazy,
trying
though?
to find my spot. I just said everything that I was
just a sidebar. You said that she was well known, but like modern audiences right now don't know what that takes to be well known back in the freaking late 30s, early 40s. There's no internet.
right.
There's no telephones. Like at least for most of the modern people back
And you only
forth,
saw
right?
movies
Like,
if they came to your area.
right. I mean,
Yeah.
not everybody had a movie theater. You know, I'm just going to run to the Regal real quick and watch Wizard of Oz. Like it was this big thing. So the word of
Yeah.
mouth and the growth to like be a famous actress back then has to be insane.
Yeah. So at this point, Judy Garland had been in a handful of things. And so this was like just the most logical next step for her was to star in this huge movie.
Right. Especially if you heard what the synopsis was all about and the color,
Well,
technicolor
and the
stuff.
book was very popular. Like when it
Right.
was first released, I guess the book was incredibly popular. And so like Harry Potter, when they made the movie, you're like, well, of course they're going to make a movie about it.
Sure. That makes sense.
So there's a lot of information about this online, but if you do any research at all about especially like that kind of old Hollywood and how younger stars, especially women, were treated, it's not great.
No, again, a product of the times. Like you were talking about racism, but also sexism was very rampant.
Very much. But so basically a lot of young stars were, and Judy Garland is one of these unfortunate stories where she is expected to be on at all times.
Right.
So they would wake her up in the morning, give her uppers to get her like pepped and ready to go, and then so they'd give her uppers or adrenaline shots to keep her awake.
Actual shots. That's insane.
And Mickey Rooney has also spoke out about all this same. So he had the same exact treatment.
Wow.
And then when it was time for them to sleep, they'd be given downers or barbiturates to like put them out to go to sleep, and then they'd be woken up whenever they needed to be ready to go.
It's like caged animals.
Yeah, exactly.
For the zoo.
That's what I was thinking.
Because they're property of the movie studio.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So at the
How
time,
old was she? Do we know?
I think she was 16-ish.
Okay.
She was not in her 20s.
Yeah.
So at the time she started doing Wizard of Oz, I guess she was already struggling with addiction.
Of course, because they're pumping this stuff into them every
Yes.
single day.
So when that movie started, it really just snowballed. And unfortunately, later in life, she struggled with drug and alcohol abuse her entire career.
Dang.
And
It's unfortunate.
She was 16, by the way.
okay. So she was also incredibly scrutinized for her weight.
On that film?
Yes.
She's a little petite thing.
Well, she was harassed.
I just imagine though that culture back then, you were supposed to have a waist that basically could fit in a quarter.
Well,
like it's terrible.
No one, because you had like James Manfield, and even Marilyn Monroe wasn't a size 0.
Yeah, but Marilyn Monroe was not popular back in the 30s.
No, I just
right?
mean like
Yeah.
old Hollywood. These women
Yeah.
were not sticks.
Well, she was the one that spearheaded a full figure was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Judy Garland was, like I said, harassed by studio executives. She was called a pig with pigtails.
Damn.
And they gave her diet pills to lose weight.
Dude, they're just like pumping her full of all sorts of crap.
And unfortunately, it's like she wasn't overweight. She was 16 years old.
Sure. Right.
Like, and I guess there was one scene where she was being treated so poorly by the director, and everyone was like, people were yelling at her, that the director took her aside and like slapped her in the face.
Oh my God.
And was like, I will give you something to cry about.
Like straight up.
And then she...
Old school, go
Yes.
grab a switch out in the backyard.
Yeah. So then I guess she like
Attitude.
was able to pull herself together and go deliver the line.
That's insane.
So the 3 actors who played the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion,
Yeah.
they were older than her, and in a way they did look out for her.
Sure.
But because they had their own issues,
Oh, right.
they really
I mean, one
weren't-
didn't have a fucking brain.
Well,
Like,
they really, yeah. they couldn't be there for her at every time. But I did read a lot of interviews about saying that like they were basically like her uncles, her older brothers,
Yeah.
and they would look out for her.
That's good.
I feel like you can sense that in the movie. Like
Yeah.
I feel like those
Sure.
that was the role that they all played with her.
Yeah.
Like protecting her in Oz.
I 100%.
Yeah.
So apparently the actors who played the Munchkins were like wild. So they would put their hands under Judy Garland's dress. They were regularly getting in trouble for their drunken behavior. And I guess that the hotel where they all stayed while filming, the police were called regularly due to drunken brawls.
Oh my God.
Freaking midget party.
So now let's talk about Margaret Hamilton, better known as the Wicked Witch of the West.
Oh, I've heard the stories on this one. There's been a couple things that effed her up.
So basically she, was acting a little bit but she was like a single parent just trying to make money. And so when she got offered this huge role, she was, she would have been stupid not to take it.
Sure.
So she took this role as the Wicked Witch of the West.
By the way, if you look at this, at her an actress, she's Sherry's doppelganger.
Oh, I believe
Like
it.
legit. They look exactly the same.
So towards the beginning of the movie, she's in Munchkin Land, and she is supposed to disappear in a cloud of like smoke and fire. They had done one run through of the trick where a trap door is supposed to open and she's supposed to drop down through it.
Right.
They did a run through of it and decided for timing of the shot, they needed to delay the drop by just like a second. Well, with the trapdoor set up on the second take, they delayed it, I guess, just too long. Just like a second too long.
For her ass to catch on fire.
She ended up with 2nd-degree burns on her face.
Damn.
3rd-degree burns on her chest and her arms and hands. Her broom, hat, dress, and makeup caught fire.
Wow.
The hospital had to
Wow.
use alcohol to remove the toxic makeup from her burned skin.
Oh.
So, all the makeup that they had to use, we will talk about it a couple times here.
Sure.
It is not makeup like we have today.
No, dude, it's straight up like wall paint.
It is
Like on their faces.
Yes, and
Yeah.
it was already not good for their skin.
Right.
But, they already had to be very careful not to get it in their mouths and eyes and stuff.
Right.
So, like, whatever oils or chemicals it was made out of, they found out it was very flammable.
Oh, jeez.
So,
crazy.
she was in the hospital for 6 weeks healing from her burns. After this, she refused to do anything with fire.
100. I would just same thing. Trauma.
But she
She's like, you can pour water on me, but no fire.
Yes. You can melt me.
So, and she was quoted as saying that she has no intentions of suing the studio for the damages because she would never work again.
Wow.
Once I guess they were pressuring her to come back, and they ended up filming some scenes with her stunt double while she was gone.
Oh, okay.
But once she came back to set, her hands were still so
like raw.
burned and
Yeah.
raw. She had exposed tissue and like nerves on the back of her hands that she had to wear green gloves through the rest of the movie.
So I wonder if you watch the movie in the beginning and like if you can even see her hands if they look different.
I actually, after doing all this, I was like, I have to watch this movie.
I was
Yeah.
just thinking that.
So later on in filming, there is a scene where the Wicked Witch is flying on a broom, writing "Surrender Dorothy" in the sky.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So Margaret Hamilton flat out refused to do the scene.
She just didn't like brooms, or what's up?
Well, so basically, she's not being a diva. The broomstick was essentially like a tailpipe hooked up to like smoke and fire.
Oh, so she'd already dealt with some issues with
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Right.
Excuse me. It was basically like a pipe retrofitted to look like a
Yeah,
broom,
right.
but that had smoke coming out of the back for the close-up scene.
And she's like, listen, I don't need my ass chapped.
So essentially, she was basically like, I'm not doing that. Well, the studio basically told her that if she didn't do it, her stunt double was going to do it. And she said, go for it. Well, unsurprisingly, the pipe exploded.
Oh.
And the stunt double had severe burns on her whole lower body, up like in her legs, like she's like straddling the
Yeah,
pipe,
right.
and it exploded with her on it.
Oh my God.
She spent 11 days in the hospital and I guess like never walked correctly again. And all I think about is like, first of all,
Damn.
who is the quality supervisor on this movie?
Well, you got to think
I mean, like
there was
the
not these same
30s.
crazy practical effects being made 20 years before this. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of this stuff is like first time, let's give it a go.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
And now, they
Yeah.
use dry ice or a smoke
Yeah,
machine
right.
or digitally do the smoke. Where back then, they were just creating the smoke.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God. And I just thought, could you imagine if that woman caught on fire again?
Yeah, that's insane. Oh, she's probably watching it. She's like, I told you. I knew it.
Oh.
I knew it.
100%.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about the Tin Man.
Oh, I like the Tin Man. I think he's my favorite out of the three. What
I always like the Scarecrow. No. The Tin Man. You're right.
I think the
always
Tin
been
Man's my favorite too.
the Scarecrow's dumb, you know?
So
I just said Scarecrow because you said Tin Man, and I couldn't say the same thing. Amanda, you have to pick the lion.
Yeah, you have to pick the
fine.
lion.
He's my favorite.
I like Toto.
Toto.
I like Toto's.
I like Totos.
So the role of the Tin Man was originally given to Ray Bolger. Ray Bolger decided that he would be a better fit as the Scarecrow. So
Wait, you could make your own decision. You're like, you know what? I'm not playing Harry Potter. I'm Ron Weasley. Like,
yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but basically he got the role of the Tin Man, but like was able to convince someone that he'd be better as the Scarecrow.
well, you know what? I kind of like it because the Scarecrow is more lanky and woobly goobly.
Yeah.
and the Tin
Yeah.
Man's like the bulkiest of them all. Well, I mean, I guess the lion
Well, he's
is,
just
but I'm-
bulky.
He's,
Stiffer.
he's stiff. He's,
he's
more
a lot more
robotic.
stiff. So
right?
whoever they chose was better.
yeah.
suited.
You're right. The Scarecrow's like loose.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
loosey goose.
Fun
Loosey
fact
goosey.
about the Tin Man, before I get into the shitty facts about the Tin Man, in the scene where Dorothy has to oil his suit, it was
Out of
chocolate. It was
out of
chocolate
context.
sauce.
I heard
you
about
could tell.
that. Yeah,
You could tell.
yeah. Well, the worst Dorothy had to oil is, suit.
Should have lube him up. So
I'm a little stiff here, Dorothy. You want to get over here?
So after, well, I just sound like Beetlejuice. So after the role of the Tin Man was now vacated, the role was given to Buddy Ebsen.
Yes, I heard about.
So they had a really hard time figuring out how to make the metal effect for his skin.
Yeah.
So his costume, there are pictures you can find online of like costume like fittings.
Okay.
Where they're trying to figure out how to make him look like a metal
I just
person.
imagine his ass got pinched so many times with those various
Yeah. So they tried to do cardboard, they tried to do metal, they tried to do all kinds of different materials to make it work. I don't exactly know what they ended up using, but I know it was kind of a mix of everything.
Okay.
So the metal effect on his skin was one of the harder ones to make look right.
Sure.
Because if you watch this movie, he is silver.
Yeah.
He's shiny.
Yeah.
So the way that they made that work was they painted his skin with clown white, just like white makeup.
Okay.
And while it was still tacky, they found this really cool product called aluminum dust.
Oh.
And they patted it all over the wet paint.
Interesting.
That's so good for your skin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, he was able to be in the movie for about 9 days. So he did some original acting, and his voice is on a few of the songs.
Okay.
Before one night he was at home and realized that he was inhaling, but he wasn't breathing. So essentially, all this aluminum dust that was getting put all over his body, he was inhaling.
Dude, you know what it reminds me of is like what it's like for insulation.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like all the little fragments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm itchy. Well, yeah, because you're breathing metal down your fucking throat.
Well, fiberglass, right?
Fiberglass.
Yeah.
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 So essentially, the aluminum dust was causing an allergic reaction in his whole body, but his lung tissue was coated in aluminum powder.
Jeez.
He ended up having to be rushed to the hospital, and he was put in I lost the word. The iron lung.
Yeah, the iron lung.
Because his lungs were just they failed. They were not working.
That's wild.
Sorry, let me turn my page.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took him a while to recover, but he basically had said that like his arms and legs would cramp up all the time, and he was stiff like as a board. Like his
so that's why his acting was so good.
yeah, right. Like I guess his body.
They just needed to squeeze a little chocolate.
Yeah, he
sauce
just
in
needed
his-
chocolate sauce.
in his joints.
I guess like whatever.
Here's your consolation, sir. You get a little
fuck.
tasty treat.
Yeah, we're gonna essentially poison you with metal powder, but here's some chocolate.
It wasn't that bad. There was chocolate.
I mean, it could have been worse. I got chocolate.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. If you hear weird noises, I keep hitting my microphone.
I didn't have to drink actual oil, so that was a good thing. You know.
So basically, nobody knew what was happening when Buddy Ebsen was in the hospital. All this was going on. He just wasn't on set, and the studio executives weren't telling anyone anything. They were basically harassing him, being like, "We need to get you back."
Just
You
like
need to come back."
everybody, just like the witch, just like Dorothy.
Well, because they were
Yeah.
incredibly behind schedule.
Yeah.
Everything would happen would just put them behind schedule, right? So
Sure.
like when Margaret Hamilton caught on fire, they had to stop because they also had a huge fire on set.
Yeah, you'd be like, hey, production's got to slow down here.
Yeah, and so and then when the tailpipe caught on fire, like it's just like problem after problem after problem. And I laugh because I'm like, it's like Tropic Thunder. Like it's like everything that could go wrong went fucking wrong on
That's
this movie.
crazy.
So unbeknownst to everyone else as to why he was no longer there, the role was given to a man named Jack Haley.
Oh, that's where Jack Haley came from.
So
Got it.
the one thing they did do was fix the metal effect.
Okay, okay,
So
good.
basically, instead of applying powder to wet skin, they mixed the powder into the paint.
Okay, that way the dust particles weren't
So
flying
there's no
around.
dust.
I see.
So there's still aluminum dust,
Yeah.
but it's not powder poofed all over his
So
face.
wait, so was Buddy never on screen then? His role was totally cut.
I
then,
think he was
guess?
completely. I think they.
So the
reshot
Tin Man
everything.
was cast 3 times.
Yeah,
That's
originally,
wild.
yes.
Yeah.
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 I guess I don't know. I think it's We're Off to See the Wizard. I guess one of the songs, Buddy Ebsen is still on the song.
Okay.
But it's like
But-
the back of him.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
See, I had heard that they replaced the Tin Man because he had an allergic reaction to the paint, but I didn't know like it was because he freaking inhaled it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I knew that it was an issue because it was dust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it like had coated his lungs.
Yeah,
That's
which exactly what
crazy.
it would do if you're breathing in for that long.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't know. You know, they're just
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is fine.
Oh, it's just on your face. You don't.
So, Buddy Ebsen came in. He started doing the role. They were painting the silver on him. Everything was okay.
Not
But-
Buddy, the other guy.
Jack.
I'm sorry, Jack
Yeah, yeah.
Haley.
Yeah.
But then he ended up missing 4 days of shooting because the paint caused an eye infection.
Yeah, because it's still metal.
Yes.
Jeez.
So
I just imagine someone laying there. Well, I'm going to paint your face, and then you just drop glitter on someone's face, but now it's metal chunks. So they're like, once they put it in the paint and stuff, it's like it doesn't dilute the fact that it's still aluminum.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
and honestly, like
Hurts when you get an eyelash in your eye.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
they did a very good job of applying the paint to his face. Like
Yeah, it
it's
looks great.
everywhere.
Yeah.
But like they went right up to his waterline of his eyes and everything like that.
Right.
So I'm not shocked that he got an eye infection. I think he should consider himself very lucky that that's the worst thing that happened.
That's fair, yeah.
Oh, you fun fact.
Uh-oh.
You remember when they all fell asleep in the poppy field and like they woke up and there's all this pretty snow around them and it's like falling and it's beautiful?
What's the snow?
Asbestos.
Oh, God. Of course it is. Dude, this movie, man. You do the Wizard of Oz. That's the coolest thing. Actually, no. I have lung problems now and my eyes burn. And I don't even want to talk about the STDs I got on set.
So Ray Bolger, the guy who decided he was going to be the Scarecrow, he didn't have too much crazy shit happen. Like his
Sure.
costume was very simple.
Yeah.
Itchy, I'm sure.
I'm sure it was.
I
itchy because
also
it was
think
wool.
he looks his paint job looks really good, and so does the lions. Like, their faces are awesome.
Well, let's talk about their makeup. So, like I said, the makeup that they used on these films was very early screen makeup, right? And it was not just face makeup, like foundation, like they would use for a woman.
Right.
It was like this thick cream makeup that also had to cover the special effects prosthetics on their faces.
Right.
So, Ray Bolger, he had the prosthetics that made his face kind of like look like a scarecrow's kind of like stitched and kind
Yeah,
of baggy
that's
a little
right.
bit.
Yeah.
I guess that whatever they used to attach it all to his face burned his face so badly, the scars and like Jesus Christ. Hold on. Whoa.
All right. Well, can we
This
get
is
a
what happens
can
when
we-
you talk with your hands.
Yes.
Can we get a play-by-play of
Whoa.
what just happened? Amanda just smacked herself in the fucking face with the microphone really
I
hard.
just hit myself in the tooth.
Oh no, are you okay?
I'm fine.
Her tooth is missing now. She's like, so anyway,
My tooth.
yeah.
just can't
the
keep her
Wizard
hands
of Oz.
No, okay, let me tell you something right now.
That
people.
was funny to see, though,
When I-
because your head slammed back, like
Because it
I was
caught me
like,
off
what
guard, so I was
just
like, ugh.
happened? You looked at it like you were fighting it for a second. You were like, "What the bitch?
It was fight or flight, bitch.
Who was that?
I'm a fighter.
Wait a minute, who just hit me?"
Win. Do it again. So, okay, let me tell what just happened.
Okay, roll back.
I am someone who talks with my hands a lot. And when I'm at home, I don't have to have anything in front of me. So
That's
I can talk
funny.
with my hands. Right now, I have this whole boom mic in front of me.
Yep, you're screwed.
And when I want to talk with my hands, it's fine until I decide to make some movement that gesture hits the arm of the mic, knocks it into my tooth.
You were so confused for a second. Your face was like, huh?
Yeah, it did
Ooh.
catch me off guard. Thank
Okay.
God for this pop filter, though.
Yeah, you're
because
good. Yes,
if the
saved you.
metal microphone
Yeah.
had hit my
Oh,
teeth,
jeez.
it wouldn't have been good because it
Oh.
was hard.
Man, I can't wait to roll that back. I want to listen to that.
All right, back
when
to
I
our
edit.
scheduled programming.
Okay.
So apparently, I guess the whatever I don't know. I couldn't find what was used to attach the stuff to his face.
Okay.
Obviously, some really early form of spirit gum of some kind,
Sure,
right?
which can be,
Which can burn,
abrasive. Yeah.
But I get whatever it was.
Super glue.
It left burns on his
That's
face
crazy.
that didn't heal for years.
Wow.
And then the Cowardly Lion. This is like the last fact I have.
That's
So,
awesome. Okay.
The Cowardly Lion suit, I guess, was at least 90 pounds.
it looks heavy
And
on
it was,
screen. It looks
was
really
made
heavy.
of many different animal skins. So it
Wow.
was real fur.
So it's not really a lion.
Apparently it was there was a lot of lion fur because
Okay.
that's one
But also probably bear fur.
it was controversial at the time because it was real lion pelt
Interesting.
that
Wow.
was used.
Wow.
But I guess it was so hot and heavy that the actor Burt Lahr, he would sweat so bad
yeah.
that the suit would never fully dry, and I guess it stunk.
Oh, dude, it looks to me like he's walking around in a swamp ass. Like, I can imagine
that
he's so
has
hot.
to be so hot. And his prosthetics that were on his face, he has like the lion face, was made with brown paper bags.
Interesting.
create-
I can see that.
It's the right color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Supposedly he didn't have so many issues with like the prosthetics or anything like that.
Yeah.
He was just miserable due to the costume.
Okay.
So
He's also not in the movie as much because he's the last character they find.
well, I bet that was
You're right, it's
probably
pretty-
for the better because I guess it was like torturous.
I can imagine. So 90 pounds and with all that filming, because right now they have the ability to use lights that do not produce heat on a film
Yeah.
set. Back then, that
Yeah.
stuff was all like blazing
Yeah.
down on them.
So I read a lot of information about how difficult a time those three men had with the makeup and all the costumes. So I guess the Tin Man didn't have a hard time putting food in his mouth, but because he had the silver paint on his face,
Yeah.
everything had to be like very small bites
Oh,
because
sure.
he could not ingest the silver.
Yeah, right. Because he'd be dealing with the same thing that Buddy did.
And then the Scarecrow just had to be very careful of the prosthetics, but his mouth is mostly clear.
It's pretty open. Yeah.
But I guess so
yeah.
it's pretty open.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
He
I
opened
got
his
this.
mouth.
I know
when he
about
ate.
eating.
I'm a pro eater.
I understand.
My mom says I'm a good
If,
eater.
if the mouth is open,
Mm-hmm.
you can eat.
yeah,
yeah.
I've had prosthetics on before. I understand.
Yeah. So I guess the Tin Man suit and the Cowardly Lion suit were so difficult to move in. They were not allowed to sit down. So they were pretty much only able to like lean against a wall
Like in between takes.
in between takes.
Damn.
And then I guess they had almost like a dolly system set up where they could kind of like stand on it and then a PA would like lean them
and
backwards.
drag them around.
Yes. And then I guess the Cowardly Lion, he has the most prosthetics around his mouth.
Yeah, because he almost has like a dummy.
He has, like,
a
the cat
ventriloquist
jowl.
dummy.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, because he has his own chin,
Mm-hmm.
but he has like the feline looking like big
Yeah.
whiskery
You're
jowls.
right, the jowls, yeah.
Well, I guess him eating would move his face too much.
Oh, no.
So he was not allowed to eat solid food.
also, he's hot,
Yes.
90 pounds, and no nutrients
He
in
had
your
to
body.
eat everything through a straw. And I guess that they were all miserable. They all could not wait for that movie to be over. And the thing is, like, I don't know. I mean, the movie had to have helped their careers.
I don't know.
For sure.
I will say yes sometimes, but I think when actors have to be painted up that much, you're not known for your face.
No.
But
know what I'm
all,
saying?
but all of the
But, yeah.
actors were also in their own faces in the beginning and end of the movie.
Yes.
Because they're all actual characters in her
Oh,
real
that
life.
makes sense. That
Yes.
makes sense, yeah.
But yeah, so but then I guess when they could, they would do their best to protect Judy Garland from being bothered and all that stuff.
That's good.
But the one
Here comes the lion trying to like save
Like,
the day.
Hey,
and then
listen.
Tin Man's
Wheel-
like,
wheel
"Stop,
me in there, motherfucker."
stop."
Yeah, let me see. So one can't breathe. He's like, don't mess with, right? And the other one's like, I'm so hot. I haven't ate anything in days. I'll help her. And then falls over, dies. And then one doesn't have a brain.
Yeah, the other just gonna keep doing that joke, huh?
If I only had a brain.
I could help Dorothy out, but I don't know what I'm. Yeah.
I can do nothing because my head's full of stuffing.
love
if I only had a brain.
So the last thing I wanted to touch briefly on is the rumor that you can see someone hanging.
I was going to ask you about
Yeah.
that.
It's false. There was never a death reported on set.
What is that in the back? Just
They
a shadow
say
or something?
that they had like exotic animals on set to make it look like it's a brand new place.
Okay.
And according to things I've seen online, they say that it was like almost like an egret, like with a really long neck
Oh, I see. Okay.
in just like the background.
Yeah.
There's all this stuff that it was like a munchkin that hung themselves or whatever.
Yeah. Honestly, when I've like watched it to try to like see what
Yeah.
they see, I'm like, I don't
I don't
make anything out. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't see it honestly. But yeah, so that is all false. But yeah, that's how shitty it was to work on The Wizard of Oz.
Wow. New appreciation for the movie.
100%.
I used to think that that was one of your favorite films.
Yeah.
But since we've been together, I've never seen you sit down and
I don't
watch
think
it.
I've ever watched it with
So
you.
15
It's my
years.
favorite. I've never watched
That's
it.
my favorite.
No,
but
like
for
it was
15
one of
years,
like the
yeah.
4 movies I owned. Like,
Yeah. It's great. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
I mean, the flying monkeys are iconic. Like,
well, and they're kind
Yeah.
of creepy, dude.
they are.
And so is she. Like the witch. I
Yes.
always thought she was really wild looking as well.
I guess that as she went on for a long time, she didn't really want anything to do with the movie. And then later in life, people would recognize her, and then she would have a little bit more fun doing the laugh and like saying,
Yeah.
"I'll get you, my pretty." When she would do the laugh, sometimes it would scare kids, and so she wouldn't do it a lot. But I think later in life, she kind of had more fun with it.
It is crazy how many things from that movie are like really iconic.
What-
Still,
100%.
Like, the movies. I mean, in
It's almost
few
100 years
it'll
old.
be 100 years old. Like it's yeah.
Dude, can I know this isn't part of this, but I just pulled this up and all of a sudden these Wizard of Oz facts came up. And
Sure.
these are like, you probably researched some of these, but I thought it was really interesting. So, MGM outbid 20th Century Fox for movie rights. Fox had wanted Shirley Temple to star instead of Julie Garland.
Yes, I knew that they wanted Shirley Temple.
Merlin Leroy considered having a man play Toto. So he's the director, I'm assuming, right?
I don't know.
Merlin
Probably.
or whatever. But a dude playing Toto?
That'd be
Like,
weird.
so wait, so she goes into Wizard of Oz and now her dog is a person.
Interesting.
So like you go through like the wild stuff. Judy Garland had to wear a super tight corset to make her figure seem younger.
Yes.
Oh, that's terrible.
She had minimal makeup.
Yeah.
And the pigtails and a corset were meant to make her look young.
Toto earned $125 per week, but a munchkin only earned $50. The dog earned more than the midgets.
Oh, yeah.
That's so bad. Oh, that's crazy, man. Toto was played by a female dog named Terry.
Terry the Terrier.
That's crazy. Oh, same thing with Margaret. Her copper-based green makeup could not be ingested.
Yeah.
So she survived entirely on liquids during the filming as well.
I'm not shocked to hear that.
So she literally had a terrible
Mm-hmm.
experience on set as like there. I don't even think anybody enjoyed themselves at all. Maybe Oz, because he didn't have to do much,
Yeah, maybe.
right?
I don't know, dude. If I was her, I mean, it's hard, right? Because you're a woman
Yeah.
back in the day. But also, like, I mean, you spent 6 weeks in the hospital. Your face caught on fire.
Yeah.
I'd fucking sue
That's
somebody.
that's a big deal.
Like,
Over the Rainbow was almost cut from the film.
Yes.
The ruby slippers were size 5, so I obviously couldn't fit in them.
put them on your hand, maybe.
Could Judy Garland even fit in them?
I don't know. That's a lot.
Probably barely.
They're like, your feet are too big, fatty. Like, squeeze her in there. It's like one of the stepsisters trying to get
Cut
in
her toes off.
Cinderella's.
Yeah.
Yeah, they almost. So, what I read about the Over the Rainbow, they were wanting to cut the film down to take some time off because it is a long
Yeah,
movie.
it's longer. Yeah.
And one big like executive was like, this song doesn't fit here. It doesn't work.
Interesting.
Let's get rid of it. And I guess the director really pushed like, no, this song
'Cause it's super
sets
iconic.
the tone
Yeah.
for the whole movie, and they kept it. And I mean, I'm sorry, everybody knows that song.
Also, I can't
Yep,
imagine
yep.
Shirley Temple singing Over the Rainbow.
It would have been a completely different movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have felt different because she was way younger.
She was younger.
Way younger. Margaret Hamilton was just a kindergarten teacher before
Yes.
she was the witch. That's wild. That's crazy.
Imagine
Yeah.
being like, I'm going to make a career change. And then, like, you're burnt.
The
and
tornado in the film is actually a 35-foot long muslin stocking. They just spun around with dust
I
and
didn't
dirt
know
in it.
that.
They're just up top. He's like, all right, faster. Like, beat it faster.
I love it.
That's wild. That's crazy. Yeah, some of this stuff is like, I mean, the Wizard of Oz is now what, 90 years old or close to that?
Yeah. Almost
The
100 years old.
90 years of that. There's got to be so many stories and facts and stuff like that happened.
Well, and I
during
think,
this.
unfortunately, there's also probably a lot of things that we will never hear about.
Oh, like
absolutely.
the secret
Yeah.
of Wizard of Oz. Has there
well, I
ever
mean,
been
most
like
people
a-
are dead who made it.
Yeah, you couldn't even ask
There
them.
there are books. There are books about the Wizard of Oz, the true story of what it was like to work on the Wizard of Oz. And I definitely think I want to read one day because I find it fascinating how fucked up it was to work on this movie.
The Munchkins were played by a trope called the Singing Midgets, named for their singer Leo Singer. They were in Europe, and a number of the Munchkins took advantage of the trip to migrate and escape the Nazis.
I love it.
So literally, like, Wizard of Oz saved their lives.
Well, sure. I mean, anyone who was different was rounded up and sent to a concentration camp and either just straight up killed or experimented on. So I can understand that. And they came to America and got in a bunch of drunken brawls.
Yeah, right. Because they were just like, "Oh, we're free." I would be freaking out too.
Yeah, right.
That's insane.
No way. I would do everything I could not to get sent back.
There's some rad facts out here. Like I encourage people to check up on Wizard of Oz, especially if you were just a fan of the old movie and you're just like, that was just a cute little movie, and like now go back and watch all these things that you were describing. Like I want to look at their makeup more closely now, and I want to look at the scenes where the witch is caught on fire and stuff like that too, and just see how it goes.
I don't know if that ever actually made it into the movie.
Well, because it's in the movie where she disappears.
Yeah, no, I just mean I don't know.
Oh no, not where she's caught on fire, but I'm saying like you could see how it could happen, maybe. Or
I think you absolutely could see how that scene would happen.
But you would need to go find an original copy where there hasn't been a digital edit done to it. So then that way you could see all the OG effects, because you know that they've done new matte paintings and maybe did some effects over the faces and like that type of stuff too.
So the last cast member of Wizard of Oz died in 2018.
Oh, so there's nobody
left.
else.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. Amanda. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I was like reading all this. I was reading all of like the stuff, and then as soon as it said that the snow was asbestos, out loud, I literally was like, "Oh my god!" Because that was one of
breathe it in.
Well, because I had already known about all the costume issues of each character, and I already knew about that stuff. So I was like looking for other information, and then when it talked about the asbestos, I was just like, "Oh my fucking god!"
Yeah, that is the worst ever.
Like,
but I don't think Wizard of Oz was the only film like this.
No, and that was my next thing. So there is a John Wayne movie. I don't remember what it's called, but I think he plays like a Chinese, like I think he plays Genghis Khan.
Okay.
But they filmed the movie on like a nuclear testing facility or something like that, where like a ton of the actors ended up getting cancer.
That's crazy.
Somewhat shortly after filming the movie, including John Wayne.
Wow.
So I want to know, to anybody listening right now, if you know of any other movies that were like nightmares to work on. Like obviously there's movies that like, you know, I know there's some movies that end up in like development hell for years and years and years and years finally get made. Like Shrek was one actually that like it was trying to get made for like 10 years before they ever even made it.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely curious if anybody knows of other movies somewhat similar to The Wizard of Oz where like it's just problem after problem after problem.
Fast and the Furious.
For real?
I don't know.
Oh.
I just know that.
I mean, it would make sense.
It's probably hard to drive them fast cars.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
Oh my God, can I tell you something really quick? Sorry.
All right,
listeners,
Paul
deal
Walker.
with it. Okay, so the other day, like Chris and I were talking about like places we would love to travel in our lifetime, and he said he's always wanted to go to Japan, and I said I do too. That's somewhere I want to go in my lifetime. And I said that he was like, yeah, I want to go like here and here and here, and I was like, yeah, I want to go see the filming locations of Fast and Furious 3 Tokyo Drift. And he was like, no, and he was like, Are you serious? Are you serious? And I was like, absolutely not. I was like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever said.
That's the dumbest shit I've ever said.
I was like, you thought I was serious? And he was like, I mean, if
I would do anything for you, babe.
He was like, if that's what you really wanted. I'm like, I don't.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Guys, if you like this type of episode, you want us to do a deep dive into other things that are wild and crazy around movies and or games or music, where can people ask for such things, Amanda?
Okay, come tell us what you want, what you really, really want at our Instagram at Real Awkward Podcast. You can also check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Real Awkward Podcast. $3 a month gets you exclusive episodes and some other stuff. And that's all the places we are at currently, I think.
Yeah, our TikTok still hasn't moved.
I don't know how to do TikTok.
We haven't posted anything.
All right, guys, we'll talk to you later. And be well and be safe somewhere over the rainbow.
Bye-bye.
Bye.